Shall we begin?
Football Feast.
Fire away.
Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
Hold on to your butts.
Get over it!
Minnesota is so hot.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Got to be careful with Johnny Pecker.
Double doink.
I mean, pick your poison with that defense.
9 to noon.
PA and Charch. I know, right? PA and Charch. Football Feast. Football Feast.
Thinking of those days gone by now. So music in the air. Life was good then it had meaning. We danced without a care.
And the Friday Football Feast is in the air. A happy Friday to you. It's PA and Charch in order by our side at FM 100.3. The kids call it KFAN.
I want to win, man. That's all I care about.
Sounds of
PA and Charch. I know, right?
Well, congratulations. I mean, how excited was Fantasy Football Nation yesterday for Guillotine Leagues firing up last night. The app looks fantastic, and you're behind it, Paul Charchi, and Guillotine Leagues and the choppability of it all. And good morning.
Good morning. Very excited. It's taken us a lot of time. We have put a new coat of paint. We have reskinned the app, the desktop site. We've got a bunch of new functionality, a bunch of new content baked into it. It's taken us a little longer than I wanted, but we are live as of yesterday.
Right.
Brand new app, brand new desktop website, and maybe best of all, for the first time ever, the leagues that you create with your friends, totally free to play.
You gotta be bleeding me.
GuillotineLeagues.com.
Explain.
Well, in the past, we charged $3 per team.
Oh, I see.
Now, we charge $0 per team.
Oh, wow.
So, play with your friends at absolutely no cost. If you had a team of 18, that would have run you $54. Now, it runs you $0. It's totally free. GuillotineLeagues.com.
Why are you being so philanthropic?
Because of the love in my heart, Paul. Yeah, sure. That's why. Right. The love in my heart. We just want more people to experience the awesomeness that is Guillotine Leagues. It's the best format in fantasy football. It's so much fun. The anxiety, the new ways to play, all the different strategies, building a team not to lose. It's all the Christian McCaffrey coming up on the waiver wire. It's crazy. Like nothing you've ever played before. GuillotineLeagues.com. So much fun. And now available for the 2024 season.
What's a Super Chop contest purchase?
Those are going to come live in a few days. The Super Chop is our high-stakes version of Guillotine Leagues where we play with 144 teams.
Oh, wow.
12 teams in 12 leagues. And then it all runs into a playoff where there's one overall winner out of 144 for some really serious money at the end because you've got 144 people all putting money into the pool. So, yeah, big money in those. The Super Chop.
And just explain it a little longer, Super Chop. Like how do you, it's just a chop.
Sure. But here's how it works.
Yeah.
I mentioned the 144 players.
Yeah.
There's 12 leagues. They each have 12 teams.
Yep.
Win your 12-person league.
I'm fine now.
You advance to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then we start chopping the remaining 12 down to one at the end in December.
I'm fine now because with 144 teams, Perhaps the best news is $432
Winnersville sounds better in FM.
has been saved by devotees of the
Nicely
chop.
done.
Who don't have, it took me a second there to multiply 144 times 3. So tell me a little bit more about chop.
Winnersville sounds better in FM.
Quick question, because I looked on the desktop and I looked on the app last night.
Yeah.
Password worked. We're all in and everything. Ready to roll with the choppability of it all this year. Quick question for you. What happened to the 1,500 I had in there from last year?
Loserville sounds better in FM.
Why is it gone? Where did it?
It's still there. It's still there. I like that you have a sizable rolling balance at Guillotine Leagues.
Of course you do. Well,
Yes.
first of all, that's not the number. Secondly, of course you do, because it stays in there throughout the course of the year, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean,
What happened to that
we don't mind.
1,500 I had from last year, and you revamped the app? Now I got no money.
Loserville sounds better in FM.
Playing with you.
I know you are.
Can't wait to fire up some leagues. Excellent work with the app. It's beautiful. And for those who dive into the Guillotine Leagues app, just visually quick twitch, like what's different?
You're going to be shocked because everything's different and so much better. And
Running backs red, wide receivers green.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, that is exactly right. Running backs are coded red and wide receivers are coded green.
What do you think? I'm lying? I really looked at it last
nicely
night.
done. We did more than just put a new coat of paint on, but you're going to be shocked at how easy and intuitive it was. The biggest complaint people had last year about our old app was just navigation. We've really worked hard to simplify it. You know, like any new app, there'll be a learning curve for, I don't know, minutes. And then you're going to be rolling around the app, loving the new Guillotine Leagues app. I'm so excited to see what people think about this new app, because the app it's an app world now. Us dinosaurs still go to desktop, and we like to do stuff on desktop, but you know, the kids, they all love the apps. I use the app about 50-50, and when people see this new app, they're going to be thunderstruck at how awesome it is.
Congratulations of getting to the finish line nearing the finish line when it comes to the public leagues and stuff like that. I know a lot of work has gone into it. Very proud of you, and looking forward to playing the Guillotine Leagues. Now, I have a question for you involving a wide receiver who does not play for the Minnesota Vikings. Nordo, the question involves Ayuk. Ayuk is on fire. So, how does one handle 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk if they're drafting in fantasy now? And what is it you read regarding the price it will take to get said receiver who was a rookie from that ballyhooed 2020?
And he's panned out well. The funny thing is, the media reports are they're not getting first-round offers for Brandon Ayuk, who, A, was a first-rounder when he was drafted, and B, has absolutely lived up to the first-round billing. An average first-round draft pick does not work out as well as you think it will, and you hope it will.
Yep.
Brandon Ayuk has outperformed his bottom of the first-round draft spot, and it sounds like all the Niners can get at this stage of the season when teams are settled. They think they've got their plan. The best that it sounds like they can get is a second rounder. That, to me, that feels pretty darn cheap. And it could open the door to some sneaky team that you don't think might be in the Ayuk sweepstakes. Maybe they will be.
Oh, like the New York Yankees under the cover of darkness in a game where there's no salary cap.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden we see him at third base in a playoff game.
You're just trying to get me worked up now.
A little
because you
bit.
know how much I hate the Yankees and their ability to
hate's
do
a little
that.
strong, but okay.
Hate is a little strong. Probably shouldn't use it that easily. Throw it out there. So the teams... Ayuk wants to get paid. I mean, Ayuk's not worried right now. This is his first big contract. You know what he's not worried about is who's my quarterback? What's the coaching staff like? Do I like the training facilities? None of that stuff matters. Brandon Ayuk's, it's its first big deal. He wants guaranteed money. And the teams that can give it to him are mostly crappy because these are the teams that don't have great players under big contracts. You're looking at Cardinals, Commanders, Patriots. Those are the teams that have cap space because they don't have great rosters. He might not care, and I think but the odds are, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, it's going to be to a team that, frankly, ain't that great, and that the landing spot will not be as nearly as good from a fantasy standpoint as where he is right now with the 49ers.
What if his agent had a conversation with him recently where it's like, Brandon, we might need to rethink what the expectations are here with the trade. In fact, Brandon, think it out like this. You know that song you love, Ayuk, Ayuk, Ayuk is on fire?
Yeah. I'm
concerned it's going to be changed to Ayuk, Ayuk, Ayuk has been fired.
Paul, next year, the team with the 7th most available cap space right now, just based on who they've got under contract for next year.
And so you're talking free agency, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Rolling it. Well, this is available cap space for next season.
Yeah, as
right
of now.
Team number 7.
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings.
The GM is crazy. The GM is crazy.
Hey.
The GM is crazy. I believe.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
So let me just throw it out.
Well, let me hit you with this then.
All right.
I wonder if some purple and gold brass are itching to trade for Brandon, but don't want to pay the price, don't want to pay his price, or maybe don't want to pedal, say, I don't know, I'd ask for Jordan Addison if I were the 49ers. What do you think of all that, the Birch?
That would be the obvious trade offer the Vikings would be Jordan Addison for Brandon Ayuk. Complicating that, though, Niners put a first-round pick into the wide receiver position this year in Ricky Pearsall at the bottom of the first round.
Oh, geez.
And that kid's kind of awesome.
Oh, wow.
He was a 99th percentile athlete. His rate on getting open and separation across all of college football was in the 91st percentile.
Well, then why is he WR 86 when I look at Super Chop?
I know. Well, this could end up moving pretty heavily if Brandon Ayuk gets moved, or if you just want to guess that Brandon Ayuk would get moved. Ricky Pearsall is somebody that would make a ton of sense. He's a Thor Nystrom favorite as well, and there's a real scenario where Ricky Pearsall is going to be very good, and he's going to walk into the spot vacated by Brandon Ayuk and be a starter the moment Ayuk is gone. I love Juwan Jennings, by the way, and I know you do too. We've talked about him. He might be the best pass-blocking wide receiver in football. That dude is awesome.
Either him or Alan Lazard. That would be my exacta box.
He's I don't think he would walk in as an every down wide receiver. I think it'd be their first rounder. Ricky Pearsall would start with Deebo Samuel.
All right, now with the life changer tomorrow at 3:00, it's the first preseason game for your Minnesota Vikings. They host the Las Vegas Raiders, and Antonio Pierce early in the week, as we have said 15 times, 9 to noon, was quoted as saying, "I'm going to play my starters." So outside of Devontae Adams, who's not with the team as he expects or awaits the birth of his third child. One of their offensive linemen, Colton Miller, one of their preferred tackles, he's PUP terrorism, so he ain't going to play.
Yeah.
So that there are a few there who are of name variety, who will not be playing for your Las Vegas Raiders. Antonio Pierce heading into his first preseason as full-time coach of LVR. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders opted to execute training camp in Costa Mesa, California. So they will leave from Costa Mesa. They will come to the Twin Cities today. They will play the Minnesota Vikings tomorrow. They will go back to Vegas Saturday and then continue executing their toil at their facility in their town. Now, during all of that, for whatever the reason, Antonio Pierce opted to not sign up for any joint practices.
Oh, I thought every team did. Okay, so this is the oddball team that did not.
So now in unpacking the layers that go into, okay, my man, I know you have a quarterback battle here where all accounts between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew would make it akin to a $10,000 claimer at Thistledown in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I always love that one.
But that's not our problem. So what is your problem? Our problem is if you're going to play your starters, well, then that means Max Crosby, and that means Christian Wilkins, and that means John Jenkins, and that means this corner, Jack Jones, who's just having an awesome awesome offseason. And they are quite infatuated with Jacoby Myers. And you got Zamir White going into Alexander Madison. And their preferred offensive line, sans Colton Miller. So all of that's going to happen tomorrow, including outside of Devontae, the true strength of their offense is their three deep at tight ends. Your guy from Georgia, Brock Bowers, still like a lot of rookies from what I read, has a lot to learn, but looks like a specimen that's going to hit at this level.
He's had some eye-popping moments in training camp, Brock Bowers. Have
you seen them or read about them?
I've seen a few of the highlights, like the highlight videos that you get in Twitter.
But that's great. When JJ McCarthy throws 30 touchdowns in training camp and 22 of them are in 7-on-7 drills.
I always love that
where
one.
they're going 60% and everybody knows the plays.
I always love that one.
Completely understand what you're saying about Brock Bowers, which goes into if you deep dive and read up on him a little bit, just like between the lines, are they in love with him? Michael Mayer, their second tight end, into his second year, and he has some skill.
Yep, he was the first tight end taken the previous year.
Right.
So the Raiders took the first tight end off the board in back-to-back drafts.
Yeah, you see what they're doing here? So they signed Alexander Madison in free agency.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years, they draft ballyhooed tight ends. Their third tight end, Harrison Bryant, used to run for Stefanski. He's extremely athletic, and so there's a lot you can do with Bryant, even if he's a third tight end. What a wonderful, wonderful plan and scheme that's being designed for an offense that will be led by either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to sign a bunch of running backs and tight ends.
I always love that one.
Devontae ain't going to like it, but we can't have them get hit as much as they're getting hit here in training camp. So we just got to get our quick game on with these tight ends and these running backs. Zamir White,
I'd love to tell you about Zamir White.
Yeah, please do.
So Zamir White ended up being the starting running back at the end of last year when Josh Jacobs went down for the season, shortly after Thanksgiving-ish. White played the final, I believe, 4 games of the year, and I'm doing this off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce ran him like 19 times, 21 times, 22 times, and 22 times in those 4 games.
Oh, wow.
Pierce is... he might be the most run-heavy coach that we've got outside of Jim Harbaugh in the league now.
Right.
And Zamir White, it looks like the starter. He's one of my favorite fantasy sleepers. We're going to talk about him all preseason on Fantasy Football Weekly.
Is he RB13?
Not quite. He's going off the board like RB20, but I think his value is way higher than that.
Last 3 games. At Kansas City, 22, 145, and 0.
Yeah, how about that?
I ain't going to look at the receptions. We didn't. Yeah, we did have a receiving TD in that KC game. Oh, no, we didn't. 22, 145 at Kansas City.
Yep.
20, 171 at Indy.
Yep.
25, 112
right.
at home against Denver. 0 rushing touchdowns. However... my man was 0 receiving touchdowns either.
And that's why they brought in Alexander Madison, because they covet running backs with 0 rushing touchdowns. So they're like, Alexander Madison, you're perfect here.
Come on, man. I'm like, I completely understand what's happening here. We got somebody who carries a lot. He's obviously very durable, and he takes hits. And from a fantasy football standpoint, you can win with a 145, especially when there are 0 TDs.
I can win with 145. Listen, if you do the opposite like I do, and you do not take running backs for the first 4 rounds of your draft, Zamir White is your guy. You're targeting Zamir White. He's going to make your team, and I love all the usage. I assume we're going to get a little bit of Zamir White in this game. Don't know that.
Cinch.
It could be another form.
If he's playing his starters, he's playing Zamir White.
I assume so.
But see, this is what is mildly perplexing for yours truly for the first preseason game. For the first preseason game, I'm generally used to getting up to speed on Christian Wilkinson and telling you about tight end Trey Knox and wide receiver Thayer Thomas. Hey, Dwight McGlothern. A lot of people within the covenant saying good things about cornerback Dwight McGlothern. And then Antonio Pierce goes all regular season on this thing.
Right.
And we're going to have Mac. I mean, it's cool. It's going to be fun. I don't know how long it's going to last, and that's what's perplexing, is he's being coy and or covert as to which quarterback he's going to start.
Yeah, that's why he's playing his starters, Paul, I think, is he's got a quarterback battle on his hands. Antonio Pierce does, and he's trying to figure out if it's Gardner Minshew, who I think it should be,
right,
or Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
You know, we saw Aiden O'Connell in Las Vegas. I don't feel any compulsion to see more Aiden O'Connell. Antonio Pierce does. Right. Gardner Minshew nearly got the Raiders or got the Colts to the playoffs. They were a final week of the season winning in playoff team with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
The guy's way more ready to win now than Aiden O'Connell.
But see, here's the perplexing part, and you're an elite football mind, so follow me. Is if they're going to, each quarterback is going to get about a quarter, according to Antonio Pierce. Well, that doesn't mean Aiden gets the first, Gardner gets the second, or vice versa. There's going to be some type of rotation bit.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, does that mean you're playing your first offensive line, Zamir White, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and all your guys the entire first half? Because if I'm like Aiden O'Connell and Gardner's out there rolling with the ones, and then all of a sudden, I got DJ Turner and Christian Wilkinson by my side, and we're trying to run double moves with Harrison Bryant.
I always love that.
Well, that's not a fair fight.
That's not a fair fight. But,
you see?
But keep in mind, the Vikings have lost 11 straight preseason games. They don't care.
Nordo says 10.
Is it 10? This will be 11.
This will be 11 if they lose.
Yeah.
But it remains.
They don't care.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Antonio Pierce wants to win this game so badly.
I think he does.
Well, I'm not kidding you. They don't have the joints. So therefore, we're going to get rough and tumble in these preseason games. I'm a fan of that. That's cool. But O'Connell wants to win too. I just think it just bugs him a little bit that he hasn't won a preseason game. I mean, I'm not going to put a percentage on it, so it would be, as the kids say, very low key. But O'Connell wants to win too. So therefore, when you know they're coming at you with Crosby and Wilkins, what does that behoove you to do to give your guys the best chance? Because if I believe it's Darnold into McCarthy into Jaron Hall, which means the second-year guy from BYU gets the late stuff, McCarthy gets the middle and probably the most, but you want to dust off Darnold and see what he can do. But I mean, do you? That's Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. We're not going to have Spencer Rowland trying to block Christian Wilkins for an entire quarter.
We might. Who says we won't?
Right.
I mean, I don't think Kevin O'Connell really cares about the wins and losses. I think he cares about individual performances. I think he wants to identify players who are playing particularly well, guys who aren't. He wants to give reps to people that he needs to learn about. I just think winning is not on the list of things that really matter to Kevin O'Connell.
That's why I said low key.
Some care a lot. Some coaches care a lot. John Harbaugh's won how many in a row?
I think they might have lost.
Did they take an
It
L?
was 19 or 20 in a row. They did lose one last preseason, I believe.
All right, thank you.
Amazingly.
Right? Yeah, I mean, because he was playing to win games when other coaches weren't. So don't care.
Well,
Some
what
don't.
color?
Belichick never cared.
What color is it going to be? I mean, if they win this game, what color will the Gatorade be that they pour over the back of Kevin O'Connell? He wants to win a game.
Yeah.
Big moment for them tomorrow.
Gatorade.
How about this stat that I'll never forget?
Gatorade, there are a lot of options.
10-ish years ago, that year that the Lions offered their season, they went 0 for 16. They went 5-0 in the preseason.
Of course they did. Well, so, Coach, you can't win a regular season game, but you never lose in the preseason. Why is that? Well, they have point spreads, too.
Well, Antonio Pierce wants this thing because they're only going to win 5 or 6 regular season games. So even the preseason ones feel like a victory and a feather in the cap.
Hey, I don't know. I mean, what, they win 8 last year? You know, we think of the Raiders as just epic doormats. And maybe because of the game we played against them, our 3-0 game, but
Minshew ain't bad.
Minshew ain't bad.
No.
And Pierce is a huge upgraded coach, I think, based on what we saw at the end of last season. So I don't know. This feels like the Raiders are going to be a little pluckier than most people realize, and they're going to be back they'll be playing meaningful games in December, I think.
O'Connell, second year from Purdue, fourth-round pick, 2023, started 10 games last year against the Vikings, 171 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Quickly, Charch Nordo, your name is your buzzer. To whom did O'Connell throw that interception last year?
Eric.
Oh man, I think it was Mekhi Blackman, but I don't remember.
Charge.
Harrison Smith.
Ivan Pace Jr. IPJ.
The green dot, though.
He's not the green dot. Gardner Minshew, he said he was the green dot, but I didn't think it was right when he said it, and I'm pretty sure it's not. Gardner Minshew, 6-year, Washington State University, 6th-round pick in 2019 by Jacksonville. After Richardson goes down, he makes 13 starts for Indy, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he had a career-high 3 rushing touchdowns. Also, a career high for yards per attempt at 7. So, like during the course of his run, Minshew, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, 59 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. That ain't bad. I mean, it ain't great, but it's not like immortality, but it's not bad. I mean, I just have no idea how they give him a 2-year, $25 million deal, which is not exorbitant. But he got a 2-year deal, and there's not much to beat, yet he can't beat that guy. They got like a battle, you know?
Yeah, you'd think Minshew has got a long enough resume that they would just give him the job. But also, I think they recognize that Minshew's never going to be your franchise quarterback. He just isn't quite there. And maybe they think there's a 5 or 10% chance that Aiden O'Connell could evolve into the franchise quarterback, so they're keeping the door open for him. But I got to believe that Minshew is your probable week 1 starter here, unless O'Connell does something materially better in year 2 than what we saw last year.
The Friday football feast is in the air. PA and Charch vibing at FM 100.3 KFAN, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. Here are some things to expect on the 9 to noon extravaganza today. Around the corner, we have bikes, bites, flashlight, red light, neon light. Then Joey Gatto. He's a comedian who's going to be performing at Canterbury Park August 30th. CanterburyPark.com for information there. We have a funny guy on the radio 35 minutes from now named Joey Gatto. Then after that, nearing the final hour. What a big weekend for your Minnesota Twins and those Cleveland Guardians. We'll put a focus on that and some more via News du Nord. Former Minnesota Vikings quarterback Matt Castle joins us at about 11:03 to chat Vikings football and National Football League speculation. But alas, there's more. And the only way to unveil what more means is to listen to each and every second, each and every minute, and each and every hour of 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. Happy Friday and good morning.
Vikes Bites.
Welcome back to 9 to noon. It is Vikes Bites, and it is presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. It's a Clearwater, Minnesota-based company. Matt and everybody there do great work. You can find their product online, thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. A box of meat shows up at your doorstep, or local Coburns and co-ops. So find them there. Thank you, Thousand Hills. I'm going to start here with you, Charch. And simply enough, J.J. McCarthy going to be making his debut tomorrow. What is your level of salivation? What is the altitude of your pants? Are they fully in orbit as you look forward to seeing the rookie Michigan kid take snaps against the Raiders tomorrow?
Pants are on right now.
Okay.
I don't want to set expectations too high. Now, in game, I can't guarantee the status of my pants. You know, if he does something special, we're gonna be excited. But right now,
me while I whip this out.
I just want to see the kid look like an NFL player. Look like he belongs. Look like the moment's not too big for him. I don't need him to set the world on fire in preseason game number 1 of his rookie career. I just like him to go back there and look like he belongs in the NFL, make a few nice passes, hopefully don't turn the ball over, and let's evaluate. So, am I excited? Am I frothy? Not quite. Maybe there's a little extra moistness in my mouth, but we're not actually
Excuse me while I
drooling
whip
at
this
this
out.
point. So, got the dribble glass out, but we're not. I'm keeping
Who are we
expectations.
talking about?
J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, you mean the rookie from Michigan, first round pick, 10th overall, Jonathan James McCarthy, turns 22 next January, 27-1 in Michigan, 36-2 in high school. His completion percentage of 72.3 last year at Michigan, number one all-time single season for your Wolverines.
Love it.
Sky Uma's going to love this. While he was at Michigan, he ran for 10 touchdowns, including 2 last year against the Golden Gophers.
See, yesterday, doing the pick one for Paulie bit.
Yeah.
Throughout the season, and we can, obviously do that. It's fun. But what if we did depth chart bits where the work that you put into your depth chart, if I was just to say Walter Rouse or somebody like that, or Blake Brandell, and it's week 4, and you just randomly roll off what you've prepared on your depth chart, I think people would be amazed by how much intel you fit into a small space.
And it would aid yours truly because it would be better committed to memory to deliver it during said game, like with McCarthy. I mean, it's Jonathan James McCarthy, in case anybody wants to know. 44-9 over 2 years at Michigan, 22 and 20. 3-2. 44 touchdowns, 9 picks his last 2 years at Michigan. He played at Michigan for 3 years. He ran those 10 touchdowns in. And by the way, hockey is his first love. And he credits hockey with helping his quick decisions under football, under pressure in football games. All right, 3-2.
With that said, and maybe something both of you have thought about or not at all, but preseason wise, and I love the way you put it, is ultimately I want to see a guy look like a pro. I want to see a guy getting better. I want to see a guy look like he belongs. But last segment, you're talking about starters and Max Crosby here, Christian Wilkins there. The idea of playing against a vanilla defense, the idea even from Flores' standpoint that he's not throwing said kitchen sink at these guys when we see these teams take the field tomorrow. Do you have to analyze things a little bit different in preseason when you're seeing the good times and or bad times of a QB in the preseason?
Well, I'd ask Sam Darnold. I mean, he's in his 7th year from USC, a first-round pick in 2018, 3rd overall by the Jets. He's on a 1-year deal with the Vikings. He's made 56 starts, 55 with the Jets in Carolina, so did it really count? 21-35 record overall. He's thrown more touchdowns than interceptions 4 of his 6 years. Spent last year with Next Level Shanny, and of all of his rushing touchdowns, and he has 13, 5 came in 2021. That's a career high. And his first in 2018 was against the Minnesota Vikings. That's the only way I can answer that.
Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills. When I looked through your notes yesterday, Charch, I didn't have to get very far where something just kind of popped at me.
Something I said that was really stupid?
No.
In my notes? Thanks.
Something popped out?
Yeah.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Hey.
And I'm excited to see what and how much PA was actually able to drum up for this individual on his game calling depth chart. But this is your quote in the notes. This preseason is for Lewis Cine. Currently listed as 6th at safety on the Vikings depth chart. Last year, he played 8 snaps on defense and 84 on special teams.
Yeah.
I can't speak for you, Charch, but to some degree, and this isn't as if I don't want him to succeed or I don't want him to have a chance in the NFL. I just don't blatantly think about Lewis Cine when I'm putting together my opinions and my outlook for the 2024 Minnesota Vikings.
And you think Charch does? The guy plays defense and special teams. I mean, what are we doing here?
It was just a little dramatic.
Well,
his life depends on this.
Okay. Technically, the notes said exactly what you said. This preseason is for Lewis Cine.
That's it.
I was missing a word. This preseason is critical for Lewis Cine.
Okay. Yes.
Awfully important for Lewis Cine. Not terribly important for me, and I think most Viking fans. I think we've moved on. If it turns out that Lewis Cine is somehow turns this thing around, it is a contributor. It'll feel like found money at this point. Do I still have interest in seeing Lewis Cine on the field? Heck yeah. I still want to see if there's something about this kid that this team spent all that time scouting and believing in and ultimately spending a first-round pick on. is there still some part of that version of Lewis Cine that can be a contributor to this squad somehow?
Let's be honest. You couldn't care less. He's a talker because he was a first-round pick in the first draft for a general manager who, by the way, happens to be playing very fast right now. Looking into the Darisaw deal, let's just put it this way. I think it's quite the fair deal. And the self-awareness and ability to change over the course of the years with the way Kwesi and his staff have drafted and how they're looking at free agents. I mean, referring to Lewis Cine as a first-round pick in Kwesi's first draft is akin to making Joe Mauer's home run total in 2009 gospel for his career. It's just not. It's a new Lewis Cine. You couldn't care less because he plays defense and you're the identity of fantasy football. But you like saying it because it resonates and, people are like, oh, yeah, that's right. Am I right?
No.
Partially?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I can care about Lewis Cine. It's okay. I can do that, right? I mean, first round pick by my favorite team. Mm-hmm. I can care about Lewis Cine.
Okay.
Well, here's what we learned. We know that the Oxford comma can make a big difference in how a sentence is laid out. You were missing a critical word.
The word critical.
The word critical in itself.
Yeah.
But I am, by the way, I am a little surprised that he's sixth on the official depth chart.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Our safety. Have you seen the Minnesota Vikings safety depth?
We're 4 deep in guys that can start for a lot of teams.
We're 7 deep. 6 can start for other teams.
Lewis Cine's not one of them.
Nordo had Theo Jackson as a starting safety for the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs chatting earlier this week, and I can't say he's wrong.
Bobby McCain. Don't forget about him.
Yeah,
a late addition, getting reps at safety. Jay Ward's at corner.
When you say Bobby McCain...
Up is down, down is up.
When you say Bobby McCain, it's one of those names where I feel like saying, Bobby McCain, I got all his albums. I saw him open for Bobby Womack, and he covered Harry Hippie at the Des Moines, the Iowa State Fair.
Vikes Bites! One last for you here, Charch, in particular. Third receivers. We're going to get a lot of looks at everybody not named Justin Jefferson. And we know the names from Brandon Powell. And you have Jalen Naylor, Lucky Jackson, and Wolf of Walk-Ons, Thayer Thomas, etc.
Don't forget Jay Sean Jones.
And Jay Sean Jones, absolutely. Trent Sherfield. He was signed to a 2-year deal from the Niners.
He'll make the team.
Most recently, or Bills, maybe. But at any point, who are you interested in learning more about tomorrow when these guys take the field and they're all getting their respective reps?
We know what Brandon Powell can do. So I feel pretty good about that. By the way, is Brandon Powell going to be our kick returner? Or is it Ty Chandler or is it somebody else?
Well,
Kenny Wanwu.
Yeah, I mean, what do I look like? Mike Briefer? I'd say yes. I'd say to start, yes. Punt returner, I would say yes. Mm-hmm. I'd really like to know what went into Jordan Addison catching, when I'm watching practice, and he's catching punts for like the balance of a full week, and now he never catches them. So it's like, I didn't know what they were up to with Addison catching punts. I thought, you getting sneaky here? Maybe teach him to eyeball the trajectory so maybe when the kickoffs roll around, you can get sneaky with him back there.
Well, somebody had told me he did that last year, though, too. So I was thinking the same thing, but now this would be the second year. And, of course, he did not take any of those reps in games last year.
Somebody got bored with it because he ain't doing it anymore.
Oh, really? There we go.
Either he got bored with it or they got bored with him. It's one of the two. And but I would say Pal for punts and or kicks. Now, in I don't know how much of the games you guys watched last night. I didn't watch much between calling races, but I did see when I got home. I purposely went and looked at some of the kick returns. And this also typifies what we saw in the Hall of Fame game a week ago. The hits on the kick return, they ain't no joke. I mean, the hits that these backs, these returners are taking by the first guy are pretty significant. Then the second guy gets more of a full run. So these hits are different than we've seen before on kick returns. But so then I'm like, I don't know who's going to be back there. But like when Matt Daniels, the special teams coordinator, last week said, we have a handful of players, who would be unbelievably good at kick return. Problem is, if I use them and they get hurt, I'm going to lose my job. So, I'm just being square with you. Justin Jefferson on a full run with the way this thing is designed, with the coverage guy starting flat-footed at the 40.
Yeah.
The way he slides and his twitch and then his burst, he'd be unbelievable, but until, a couple of twos and threes converge on him and get their high-low on, and all of a sudden we've lost 18 for half the season, So it's still very much a work in progress.
I don't think the hits are going to be nearly as big as they were when people had a 50-yard running start.
Right.
I mean, the whole point of this is...
Think of how many returners you see with the guy going 30 miles per hour, full speed for 50 yards. They never collide head on. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's he's coming down there fast, but generally speaking, they're running fast, they stop, they stutter, they take away lanes, and then they converge. Well, this is in such tight quarters that is so much happening right in front of them. It just takes a little bit of a run, like a defensive play against the offense. And whether it's Steven Sims or a couple of these rubes I saw last night, these guys are taking licks, mark my words.
Well, the benefit of that, though, to Charch's point, is you're not having the significant collisions of the respective return teams, because they're only 5 yards apart.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's almost becoming as much
Great
of a
point.
rugby scrum
That's a great point.
as it is. So you're right, though. I mean, you're going to have moments where one of these defensive return guys is going to beat his block, and the Cordero Pattersons of the world are going to try and get a running start to catch it on the fly, and they're just going to get smashed.
With the NFL being concerned about high-speed collisions and concussions and things like that, Nordo nailed it, because it's generally, if you got 11 on 11, all right, well, you got the kicker and you got the returner. So now all of a sudden we're talking about 20 players. And those full speed runs of the linebackers and the safeties and stuff like that, those are where the problems were.
Yeah.
It's like the returners,
like the wedge block bits and stuff.
I don't think I've ever heard of Devin Hester or Dante Hall complaining about concussion-related symptoms. It's generally the ones in front of them. That's a very good take. Vikes Bites provided by
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
This is 9 to noon and the Friday Football Feast on your home for Minnesota Vikings football, FM 100.3 KFAN. Falcons.
Oh my God! Kirk O'Shea!
Why is Atlanta going to win the NFC South in your estimation?
Falcons going to win the NFC. First, the easiest division of football, which helps a lot. So there's that. Falcons are already a pretty good team. That last year had the worst quarterbacking in the league, arguably. And now they've got Kirk Cousins. And you guys know how I feel about Kirk Cousins. He was leading the NFL he was the NFL's leading passer when he went down. I mean, the upgraded quarterback for them is dramatic. Presumably, Cousins and new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson in Atlanta will unlock the abilities of all these lottery pick young players that have been on the Falcons languishing. Mm-hmm. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. And if you can just let those players play up to the greatness that you thought they had when you drafted them, Kirk can unlock that. That puts the Falcons offense into a position to be a top 10 offense. Defense was already good in spots. And so, Falcons turn into, I think, the best team in their division, the NFC South, and maybe by a margin. Not taking anything away from the Bucs and Baker Mayfield, and it's a great story and everything, but I think the Falcons are gonna win that division by a couple of game margin.
Anybody happen to catch Drake May playing for the New England Patriots last night? Because I did not.
I did not.
I did.
Knee deep in launching guillotine leagues. What do we got?
What'd you think?
He was fine. He only threw 3 passes, though. That's the thing. So it was very limited reps. And those that maybe watched the whole game, I bounced in and out. I was more impressed by getting to know this athletic specimen by the name of Joe Milton.
He's crazy.
Was he like 17 or 19 playing in the second half?
Well, he was 4 of 6 throwing.
No, I'm saying his number, because from afar, I watched somebody He went Fran Tarkenton on this play that I watched.
16, something like these 19.
Okay, yeah, he went. I thought it was Drake May at first. And
you're talking about the play where he went 20 yards back and ended
the
up,
man on the fan.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Circumnavigate to the right, all the way back to the left, cut right, make a guy miss, fake like you're going to slide, and get an extra 4. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah, so he's got a cannon for an arm. He only threw. I mean, the guy they had playing the most last night. Maybe that's just an indictment of where they plan on going in the future. Bailey Zappi, it appeared, got most of the run. So, but Milton looks like an athletic freak. Still, again, kind of the way I was asking last segment, like, how do you analyze some of this QB stuff in the preseason?
Yep.
That was a super athletic play. But similarly, with the way we've been talking about JJ throughout this week, PA, is did he have to make that play? Is it because he also just missed an obvious open slant for a quick gain of 8, move the chains and move on? And then he just had to be a freak to get out of his own mistake. And so I don't know that answer, but he looked awesome last night just as a guy. I mean, this is a stupid and easy parallel comparison. There was some Cam Newton-esque physicality to Joe Milton.
Yeah.
So
he was Tennessee,
or
right?
I can use, he was Tennessee. Yeah. Or I can use Josh Allen in the way that he runs and evades contact and is just blatantly difficult to bring down.
Well, remember, let's not forget, kind of like the 2020 wide receiver draft, is we heard so much about the depth of it when it went to bearing its fruit. It looks like the 2020 is the greatest wide receiver draft in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
It can be argued. Well, let's not forget from Caleb Williams through Milton, through Spencer Rattler, through all these names that we heard who were taken either on Friday or Saturday, or maybe even somebody undrafted. That Milton having that skill set with that big arm, there are going to be quarterbacks popping up. Like I said, is like I said up to the draft. We'll see if I'm right. I'm probably going to be wrong. There are going to be there are going to be at least a handful of quarterbacks non-first round who get second contracts.
Yes.
From this draft. And like Milton could be one of them. And, I ain't going to base that off just one play, but the skill set of 15 of them say, 17 of them say, well, they have a right to grow and mature and learn and be around, markedly better players than they had in college. So that's interesting to hear that it was the rookie that did that.
Well, the key to that, PA, is we get the chance to go back and look just how deep these QB drafts are, because you have 6 in the first 12. And I remember this from draft night, and I was scrambling to find it.
Yeah.
So that's pick 12, Bo Nix goes. The next QB goes 150th overall. He goes in the 5th round. That's Spencer Rattler, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
So, Jordan Travis, what kind of chance does he have with the Jets? He's going to get to sit behind Rodgers. We talked about Milton, but they take Milton in the 6th, the Patriots do. After taking Drake May 3rd overall, they're going to give Drake May all the run he wants. So what is Joe Milton's future? I don't even know who the hell Dean Leary is, and then you get to the Tulane cat, et cetera. So, maybe one or two of those guys gets a real chance. I'd look at Spencer Rattler in New Orleans with Derek Carr's career trajectory, certainly closer to the end than the front.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Milton's going to have to impress in the preseason most likely, or by way of injury. Otherwise, it might be his second team, kind of a similar conversation to a Jaron Hall type.
If it's one of the deepest quarterback drafts in the history of the NFL, and you really got to wait 3, 4, 5 years to figure that thing out, it's absolutely perfect to know in that draft, the moribund Las Vegas Raiders took undrafted Bradley Carter from South Alabama.
I always love that one.
We might see him this weekend, you were saying?
Joe Milton. Here's the bit on Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Amazing athlete. Big arm.
He can throw it almost. I think I saw him just casually tossing it 70 yards in some online videos I was watching.
Oof.
Everything else involved in the position of quarterback is a disaster for Joe Milton.
Yeah.
He is at best just a gadget guy that you could bring in some special situations.
I understand.
Unless, and God bless him if he improves all the other fine parts of the NFL game at the quarterback position, and I wish him the best of luck. Based on everything that we saw coming out of school, Joe Milton does not have a career as a passer in the NFL.
I understand, but a lot of those same things were uttered about Lamar Jackson.